the Israel versus Iran war protracts, the United States of America has deployed additional assets in the Middle East. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has ordered several B-52 Stratofortress bomber aircrafts to be sent to bolster American presence in the region. What's special about these bombers is that they are long-range nuclear-capable aircrafts. This is clearly a pointed warning to Iran. Remember, nearly 43,000 U.S. troops are already stationed in several countries such as Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Now, this move to beef up U.S. combat strength in the Middle East has been met with a sharp reaction. Iran has promised a tooth-breaking response. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei has signaled that Iran is ready to modify its nuclear doctrine and increase its arsenal. This statement follows a dramatic escalation in Israel's wars with Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, as well as a retaliatory strike on Iran a week ago that likely damaged a base that builds a ballistic missile and launches rockets as part of the Iran space program. Iran's ultimatum also comes mere days before the U.S. presidential election. So will Iran increase its nuclear arsenal? If so, how will the U.S. respond and what will the global ramifications be? These are all big questions this hour. Let me quickly join Prabhu Dayal, former diplomat, onto the broadcast. We also have Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Joining us live, Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert, is live with us. Dr. Wael Awad, Middle East expert, also joins us live. We are seeing, of course, a bolstering by the United States, Dr. Awad, of their assets in the Middle East. What is the messaging of this step by the U.S.?
Is it for me?
Yes, Dr. Awad.
Sorry. Yeah, the message is from the U.S. It has been from day one. The United States has been involved in the war with Israel, actually. If you know that 80% of the Israeli weaponry have come from the United States, all these bombs, 70,000-pound bombs have been siphoned to Israel. And they have increased the budget of $3.8 billion of military assistance to Israel. So therefore, they have been from day one involved. And secondly, they have already employed the THAAD anti-missile system, which is also with the American troops are present now in Israel to defend Israel. So the presence of the United States have been in the Mediterranean Sea, in the Red Sea, and also in the Persian Gulf. And these are messages wanted to give to Iran that they are there to defend Israel, despite of the fact that Israel has been provoking Iran for so long. As you know, they have killed their officials, diplomats in the Syrian consulate inside Damascus, and then Iran retaliated, and then they killed Ismail Haniya, they killed Hassan Nasrallah, they killed also one of their generals in Lebanon as well, along with the Lebanese Hezbollah leader. And also they have killed many of the Iranian scientists. So the Iran has been knowingly that the United States is fully involved. Therefore, there will be a reaction definitely from the United States and also from Iran against any involvement of the United States in the region. Because the United States, as you know, have military bases in Qatar, in UAE, in Saudi Arabia. And definitely if any attack of the United States takes place, even though they have a presence of their power, there will be a direct attack on the American bases in those countries. Therefore, the region is at turmoil, at the brink of a regional war.
Okay. Do you also believe that this is going to have far-reaching ramifications, Joyita Basu? How will, in particular, Iran be viewing this step by the U.S., particularly with, of course, the nuclear range of these new assets that have been deployed?
Uday, I think whatever we are witnessing, I don't think escalation is going to take place until the time Iran retaliates for what Israel did on October 26, which is attacking, I think, over 100 aircraft fighter jets. And basically, it was a flexing of muscle by Israel. They were showing that they can do it. You have to understand something in terms of and the clear message. In fact, there was a message sent out to Iran also. There were third-party messages that were sent out to Iran that for what you have done, that you remember the October 1st missile launching that Iran had done, where 180 missiles were launched towards Israel. Launch as Israel. It's a different matter that didn't have any, minor effect on some military bases and all. So Israel had to retaliate for that. So now the thing is that the question is that whether there's going to be a counter retaliation from Iran. Let's not forget one thing. November 5th, election is coming up in the US. That is also one of the reasons primarily why the US held back Israel from hitting Iran's energy resources, in particular energy, nuclear. I do not want to go over there, but yes, but there was a military, they wanted a military response. So it was a very controlled, limited response that Israel had given at that time, but that was on US insistence. Now what is going to happen is that, so as I said, the message has been sent to Iran that if you retaliate, then, because you see, I have been talking to people in Israel. Now what they are saying is that the message we have sent that we can do it. And it's a fact that Israel, I mean, at one level, Iran became a sitting duck because they were able to take out their complete radar system. They were able to take out their S-300. Okay, so as a result of which S-300 batteries were taken out, mostly all of them. So many of their sites are now frankly unprotected, except for certain missile defense systems, which can, I think, have a range of, they can stop up to 50 kilometers. But beyond that, Israel has the capability to hurt them. So that message has been, the whole point is what exactly was the damage that was encountered by Iran on that particular attack that happened on 26th of, or night of 25th and 26th of October. Now, if Iran has been hurt and hit badly, in certain terms, yes, we are hearing that 10-15 soldiers have died. Now, depending on that, a lot will depend on how Iran will retaliate.
Yes.
Now, if the retaliation happens, then what the Israelis are saying is that the US election is going to be over. The US are in no position to be able to control us. We are going to hit you and hit you hard if you retaliate. So a lot of will depend right now about what exactly the kind of retaliation that Iran does. Because if you're looking at their air force and all, that's defunct, they don't exist, you know. And if you're looking at, so what happens is that everything will depend on what sort of retaliation Iran does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ambassador Dayal, this ultimatum by Iran, days before the US presidential election, what does it really mean? Also, where do you see things headed in the near future in the Middle East?
Well, let me begin by saying that Ms. Joyita Basu has asked a very pertinent question. What is going to be Iran's action, whether it will retaliate? That is a very, very pertinent question. In my view, Iran will not take any initiative to retaliate. Let me mention that we can all recall that Iran had been under pressure to retaliate against the assassination of the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, which took place in September, and earlier the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, which had taken place in July in Tehran. And that is why on 1st October it had carried out missile strikes against Israel. However, these strikes had caused very limited damage. Then on the 26th of October, Israeli fighter jets carried out military strikes against 20 military installations in Iran. Notably, Israel avoided attacks against Iran's oil and nuclear sites, perhaps because the Biden administration had emphatically warned against striking these. Now, although the Israeli strikes appear to be calibrated and targeted only military installations, fears have grown in Iran about a possible escalation of the conflict. By and large, people in Iran feel that an escalation will not be in their interests. There are growing fears in Iran about how this escalation would have a very adverse impact on their already ailing economy. You know, we all know that Iran has been suffering from high inflation, rising unemployment, and a collapsing currency. And Iran's economy will not be able to sustain a prolonged armed conflict. And I think that Iran also has to take into account the fact that the escalation of the conflict would draw in the United States. But this is what Netanyahu wants. He wants an escalation of the conflict because he sees this as an opportunity that after having annihilated Hamas and having really hurt Hezbollah to a very great extent, he wants to hit Iran, which is the main sponsor and the backer of Hezbollah and Hamas. And he sees this as an opportunity. So it's Israel which will want an escalation. But I've served in Iran. I know the sort of thinking that they have. And the supreme leader's word really count. And he had said very clearly that Israel's attack, which took place on the 26th of October, should neither be downplayed nor should it be exaggerated. In other words, he had said that the government should weigh the pros and cons before taking any action, and therefore there should be no pressure on the Iranian government to necessarily retaliate. In my view, Iran does not want to retaliate. In my view, Iran does not want an escalation of the conflict. But we all know that Netanyahu wants an escalation, and he is taking steps and saying things which are drawing in the United States at a time when the elections would be over and the Biden regime would be free to act, etc. So I think that we have to be very careful in assessing what the motives of the different parties are. And I feel that Iran, as I said earlier, does not want an escalation.
Okay, point taken. Let me take that to Major General Sudhakarji for his perspective as well. Major General Sudhakarji, Iran has, of course, issued an ultimatum. It's a very stern warning that, of course, comes, on the back of course, the US deploying these new assets to the region. But do you see them taking further steps to escalate the situation beyond this ultimatum, given the fact that the US elections are around the corner? Will they take any untoward steps or wait and watch? Also, what is the US planning for the region? Is this just a natural step that was to be expected after what happened between Israel and Iran in the last fortnight?
Good evening. Thank you for getting me to your show. Compliments to all the previous co-panelists for having given their narrative and analysis. Uday, the subject that you have picked up is, it actually has a lot of speculation in it. For me, as a military man, I take it that the war has already become one-sided. There is a factor of intent and there is a factor of capability. When you talk about the intent, no self-esteemed or self-respecting nation would take a beating the way the Iran has taken so far. And the self-esteem, restoration of the self-esteem of Iran as a country, mind you, it once upon a time, historically, it is to be a global power. And the same nation is being hammered left, right, and center. So let me also, if you have time, let me allude to, since I've dealt with the subject in military, there is a doctrine known as octopus doctrine. This octopus doctrine basically is a doctrine adopted by Israel. What is the meaning? Very briefly, the octopus head is Iran and the tentacles are these 4H. You have Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Sahabs. So basic aim and objective of Israel, unstated objective, these are all classified, but now it has started coming in open domain, is to weaken or degrade the combat potential of all the tentacles and also hammer the head of the octopus so hard that it should not think of retaliation next time. So if you go as per the intent of Israel, it has the capability, it has got its very objective is very crystal clear, it will continue. But Israel is not Israel alone. It is supported, what it is doing today is with the support of US. That is the second part of your question. As far as US is concerned, let me finish up here itself as per my analysis. Whether it is Democrats coming to power or Republicans, the policy of the US will remain unchanged. They will continue. Because behind the governance in the US, to my limited understanding of the US, the polity of US, is that it is driven. It is driven by a very deep state, which is very, very active. It cannot exist without wars or, triggering conflicts here and there. the defense industry has to survive. Only then the economy can sustain itself. This is very fundamental. Because of lack of time, I cannot go into the further details. Now
Yes.
you come back to the point of Iran. You see, if Israel is going to continue at the behest of USA, so that the war continues, so that the deep state of the defense industry also continues to leverage and earn revenue and profit out of it, does Iran have the capability? Does it have a coalition kind of a member within the Middle East itself to support if it goes in for the thing? Like Joyita, I agree with the ambassador. As on today, Iran does not have the capability. Primarily, I'm not talking about the military capability. In any case, they are 1,800 kilometers away.
Yes.
The economy of Iran is so bad that the livelihood of the common people, including the middle class, is getting worst affected. They don't, I'm sorry to share certain things. Joyita would be having very detailed input about this. I also have military friends. I've been in Middle East myself. These people are narrating a very deplorable, very despicable kind of a situation,
Okay.
which is becoming beyond control.
Okay. So they
therefore,
perhaps cannot afford, a retaliation currently, is what you're clearly saying. Let me go back across to Dr. Awad at this point. Dr. Awad, as far as, of course, Iran is concerned, do you see any, further escalation by them, or retaliation or step being taken beyond this ultimatum, beyond this stern warning that they have issued? Also, more importantly, the US elections are, of course, around the corner. Do you believe the outcome is going to determine the way forward for the US's viewpoint on the war in the Middle East? Or do you believe, regardless of who comes in the White House, this policy of the US will remain unchanged?
Well, absolutely. I think Netanyahu had a deal with Trump that he wanted him to be in power. That's why he said to the American administration, there is no negotiation on the prisoners exchange. They would continue the war. He will expand this war into Lebanon, into Iran, and he's been doing so. So therefore, he does not want to give the Biden administration any credentials for stopping this war, or putting some kind of popular votes for them in the vote. So they wanted him to be out. He doesn't want Kamala Harris to take over. Now, I think what Iranians are also calculating here, and let's be more open. If Iran had really lost its missile system, why they should retaliate? But having said that, I would say that even the Israelis were not there. Their flight, the 100 jet, had fired rockets from Iraq 70 miles away from the airspace of Iran. I think the Russians stepped in. The Iranian defense system was enough to defend, and though the Iranians felt the heat and felt the pain of the attack. Therefore, I think any preemptive attack right now by the Iranian will give the upper hand to Biden administration, at least to retaliate in a minimal attack on Iran, which will also change the voting sequence in the United States. That's one of the scenarios people are looking at. The Iranians understand the system of the United States as well as the system of Israel at this particular juncture. The point is that the allies of Iran, which they are in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Palestine, yes, in Houthis, Yemen, are already fighting a war on their own. They have not fought the Iranian war so far. They are fighting, defending what Israel has been doing. What Israel is doing in Lebanon is exactly what have been doing in Gaza. So therefore, it is still, they have not used their potential arm against Israel if an all-out war open. And that's we have to keep in mind. So I think the distance between Iran and Israel, they are not geographically joined, okay, as Major General will agree with me, but there are people on the ground close to Israel, they can cause the pain to them.
Okay, interesting. Joyita Basu, interestingly, yes. Okay, please go ahead. You want to react because that's an interesting perspective that perhaps the US election and voting is stopping any step being taken by Iran because it could influence the outcome.
No. I mean, let's put it this way. First of all, number one, US made it very clear to Israel that you are not going to take any action so close to the election that it can affect the election in any way. So that is the reason why Israel was so restrained. As for the theory, I would call it a conspiracy theory of Israel launching missiles from Iraq. I mean, that is one narrative that is being spun by Iran, but there's a counter to that also. And there is enough military data available showing that these people not only went into the Iranian airspace, they went deep inside 500 to 600 kilometers. Okay, and I've had this from very good sources I have, so I can say with vouch. But the thing is that you see, Iran to save face, because they were like sitting ducks. Listen, their air force is of 1970s vintage. Okay, they don't have, basically it's all rusty, rickety, they don't have anything. They could not stop, I mean, because Israel had taken out their radar and missile system as an anti-missile system, that S-300, what they were doing, and there is enough photograph now available also how this was done, the damages that Iran sustained, and in fact one energy installation was, oil facility was this thing. So all these satellite images have come in. There is enough spy satellite. So that whatever Iran has been talking about, this thing happened from Iraq. No, that did not happen. They actually went in and deep 500 to 600 kilometers. And because the Iranians could not stop them, they were actually using anti-aircraft guns trying to stop these planes. Because, so as I'm saying, when it comes to parity, military parity, there is no parity whatsoever. So as for example, when you're talking about the US election, as I told you, there are enough people in Israel who have told me that, we have controlled ourselves, and because of the election, because the US had put certain restrictions on us, the targets were decided after discussions with the US, but after the election is over, no such restriction. Be it Kamala Harris, be it Trump, if Iran retaliates, we are going to hurt them so bad, then, there's going to be a major destabilization in terms of energy, particularly when we are talking about, the energy installations, they will definitely go after in a very big way. And that is what the US is trying to prevent. But I don't think they will listen.
Okay,
but
quick response from Dr. Awad before I go back to Ambassador there.
Well, I didn't say that they have attacked from Iraq. I just said they used their airspace and they have attacked by the Israelis' airplane, which attacked from there at a distance of 70 to 80 kilometers. There are scenarios also which they have been talking that there was an understanding between Russia and Israel of attacking certain target within Iran. They empty those areas, and even though Israel extended the bombardment into many places, I agree with Basu on those issues. But I would say here one more point. Let us also remember that if they have damaged totally their air defense system, why they should go for retaliation against the Israeli attack?
Right. Okay, Ambassador, let me quickly come back across to you on, of course, this pause. Do you believe it is directly linked to the US presidential election? Also, the outcome of the election, will that change the US's policy towards this conflict?
Well, very frankly, both the Republicans and the Democrats support Israel. It's one thing when they try to sound very even-handed on the eve of the election, because there is a big Muslim vote within the United States and both sides are wooing it. But it is beyond doubt that both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and whenever they have been in the White House, they have been supporters of Israel. Now, the Iranians are not people who would like to be perceived as weak. That is why they have made statements which show that, well, they are not going to take things lying down. The Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei yesterday said that the enemy is both the USA and the Zionist regime should know that they will definitely receive a tooth-breaking response. But it is one thing to make a statement, it is another thing to really be wanting an escalation. And frankly speaking, a debate is taking place in Iran about what the country's response should be to the Israeli attacks. And by and large, people are against an escalation of the conflict. However, let me state that if there is an escalation and if Iran comes under greater attacks, then it will certainly lead to a widening of the conflict to the entire Gulf region. Because if Iran's oil sites are hit, then Iran would try and attack the oil installations, the oil sites of countries in the southern part of the Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE. These are major producers of oil, Kuwait, and they are within striking distance of Iran. They're also within striking distance of some of the proxies of Iran, like Hezbollah, and of course the Houthis. So there will be a widening of the conflict. Iran will not limit the conflict area to itself; it will widen it. So it is in nobody's interest that this conflict should.
General Sudhakar ji,
can I make a quick point?
Have you say you have all the right.
Okay, Joyita, very quickly, because I'm almost out of time and I want to leave the last word to me, General Sudhakar ji.
I think there is already some talk going on, some kind of, they are trying to ensure that Iran does not hit Saudi, because that is what exactly I would say the Chinese fear is, and all of them are worried about that. So they are trying to handle the situation in the way so that there is no way that Iran decides to hit at Saudi Arabia. Especially, I think the Chinese have got involved.
Right.
Anyway, that's the
General Sudhakar ji, last word, yes.
Joyita has snatched the words from my mouth. I was about to share that through your channel. Besides that, Iran has got many force multipliers. Remember that the Houthis in Yemen, they have got a huge potential to degrade very significant damage on the warships. As on today, more than 18 warships of US and UK, which are in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. I'm talking about the combat, the warships. They have the potential, they have got precision-guided missiles, and this is a very significant force multiplier. In any case, trading activity has stopped, more or less. Everything is going via South of Cape of Good Hope. Second point that I wish to bring out is, Dr. Awad has very nicely covered, is that let's not forget about the other partners who are in support of Iran. Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, all these components, these countries, even now, we may have actually dispatched the potential, combat potential of Hezbollah. Yesterday only I was talking to a very important person from Lebanon. He has given me to understand that Hezbollah, despite the losses, have been able to reorganize. They have been able to regroup, and therefore they are unleashing very punitive kind of attacks against Israel, Tel Aviv, as also other places like Haifa. So they have significant potential, but that doesn't entitle or give the power to Iran to undertake any kind of offensive against Israel as a reprisal or as a response matrix. My take on the whole issue is this is a psychological warfare which is in progress. This war of words will continue till the elections are over, till the party stabilizes in the US, and thereafter maybe in foreseeable future, Iran, depending on its air defense capability. As on today, the air defense potential of Iran has reduced significantly. It is not even classified input, not even 10% of the requirement. So therefore, they will not be able to take any kind of offensive action, because immediately after the offensive action, there is going to be heavy punishment against Iran. Back to you, Uday.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.